Okay, it's pep talk time. I'm Camille, and I'm here to give your week a little lift. So thanks for coming. Listen up. We need to talk about your voice. Listen, I've got something to say. Did you hear how I did that? I got your attention because I wanted to tell you something. And so I got your attention, and now you're listening, and that's how it works. So I know that you also have important things to say. God gave you a voice, and the way that we express to ourselves, the world out there to the world, is through our voice, is through speaking up. It's an important part of communication. So this pep talk today is for you if you've ever struggled being able to communicate or speak up to anybody, like conflict you've had with a spouse, with a family member, with a coworker, with an authority figure. It doesn't matter who it is. So if you've ever had trouble speaking up there, if you've ever had something really bugging you and you thought, I need to say something, but for whatever reason, you weren't able to, maybe fear of repercussions. Maybe you're rehearsing speeches or rebuttals. Were you in a conversation recently and the person said something to you and you're just like, up, that. You couldn't you couldn't speak, but later on you're like, okay, this is what I needed to say. Sometimes you might even feel the stirrings with inside of you to speak up for truth, to speak up for yourself or an underdog. And you might have hesitation about how that's going to land. And maybe you're talking to somebody and then later you edit yourself. Maybe you come out strong and then you edit yourself or censor yourself because you like backpedal to make sure that the way you say it is okay for everybody that's there so they can listen to you and not feel offended or not feel triggered. Okay, so if any of that has happened to you, um, it's normal, but also um, being unable to express what we need to say can cause problems. What keeps you from speaking up? So I want you to think about that. What is keeping me from saying what I know I need to say? Sometimes you just know down deep inside, you're like, I need to say something. So that's what we're talking about today. It is natural for us to make a sound, right? For us to speak. Like I said, God gave us a voice. We're meant to use it. And, if we don't use it, there are repercussions. For instance, if you have a sore throat a lot, if you have a raspy throat, if you're clearing your throat, if you have dental problems, sometimes problems with the esophagus or shoulders or neck. All of this can be connected to, in yogic terms, we call it the throat chakra, which is the energy center right there. See, your body is always talking to you. It's always giving you information about what's going on, including difficulties when you're not able to speak up. Um, did you know this also? Your voice is the most healing instrument. The tone of your voice, even your own ears, hearing the tone of your voice is so, so healing. I want to share a story with you to illustrate this. So, back in 2010, my husband ran for Congress, and it was a very exciting time, also very stressful. But he ran against a man who had been in that seat for 10 years. So he was the incumbent. He was well known, he was well liked, and it was a difficult race. So on election day, I went to our polling precinct, our place where we voted, and I was passing out flyers and doing what they do there and saying, "Hey, vote for my husband." And then all of a sudden I see this car pull up, and out of the car comes the incumbent. I'm not going to say his name, but he shows up, and I was automatically like shushed. I was scared, I was intimidated, and the thoughts coming through my head were, how can I even stand next to him? I'm just this little, housewife that's trying to support my husband. And he's somebody that's been public speaking and the people like him. Anyway, I'd built him up in my head. And so I just was struck with fear. Like, I can't keep talking to people when he's right there. I don't know. I just couldn't do it. And so I took a moment, I gathered myself, and I'm like, I can't just run away. I can't just leave, which is what I wanted to do. So I had to dig down deep and I just said, you know what? You have something to say. You think your husband is going to do a better job than this person. So you need to say it. So somehow I found the courage and the umph, and I did. I stood right next to him and I just said, gave people the flyer and told them what my husband stands for. And oh my gosh, it was so exhilarating because I pushed past that fear of not being able to speak up and say what I knew I needed to say in that moment. So I made it through that little period of time. When it was time to leave, I went home, pulled into my driveway, and I had this overwhelming urge. It was like bubbling up inside of me to just say, yes, just to express the elation, the celebration at what had just happened. It was just a personal victory. It didn't mean anything to anybody else, probably, but I knew I was able to say what I needed to say and speak up in that moment. And I was really proud of myself. So I want to ask you, what are you doing to make sure that you are able to speak up, that you're able to voice your concerns? Sorry, there's a hair in my eye. Um, you might feel like it's not appropriate or you're not able to in that moment, but let me tell you, there is always a listening ear. It's always okay to speak up to God. I have found that He is the best listening ear because He never talks back, sometimes, but mostly not, or scolds or ridicules you or tries to shush you or quiet you down. Like sometimes people do that to us, right? Maybe that's why I don't want to speak up. We've been shushed too much or been told that we're just too much. Just pipe down. But when that happens, when we feel that need to speak, we can speak to Him. He's a good, loving Father who cares about us. And so even if we don't have any other safe place, and hopefully you do have safe places where you can talk and you can speak up. Another thing you can do is find a trusted family member or friend. So if you've been talking to somebody who is obviously not listening to you or is making comments about your communications, that's probably not the right person. Okay. So find a safe place where you can express yourself. All of that feeling inside of you that you're not able to let it come up and out is, if you just leave it there, it's going to stir and eventually it's going to get really big. And then you're going to have what I call volcano moments where you can't stand it anymore. And you just say it and you usually scream it. Or in my case, I used to scream and cry and it was just like so embarrassing. So before it gets to that point, find a way that you can express yourself through speech. You can write too, but the speaking part is so, so important. Think about the last time you spoke something just the way you wanted to, and how did you feel afterwards? Feeling of accomplishment, right? Feels really satisfying to express what you need to say in this world. So I want to encourage you to do that. If you need help and support with this, I know how to help you. So reach out to me. I know you've got important things to say. Your voice matters in this world. Don't let anybody else tell you to shush or you're too loud or whatever. Believe in yourself and speak your voice. All right. I know you can do it. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.